The book is called Kings of the Rings, and it's written by Sean Grassie. And if you're a curling fan, you know the name Sean Grassie. You know he's been around some curling rinks in the city and in the province and internationally as well. And little does everybody know, he actually went to school with me back in the Red River College days. And that's when you started writing this book. Sean, I guess talk about the process involved of getting all this information. You talked about how the year that it came out is significant because it's the 125th anniversary of the MCA Bonspiel.
Yeah, in January of 2013, the MCA Bonspiel celebrated its 125th anniversary. So I think the timing is right for this book, and actually very little has been written about Manitoba curling history, which is very surprising given the popularity of the game in the province. So as you mentioned, it did start out as a school project. It was my independent professional project at Red River College in the Creative Communications program, and started off in spring of 2009. So, you know, after all this work, it's kind of nice to see the final product done now.
Exactly. So, you know, throughout all these stories, have you found one that's kind of sticking out in your mind that when you were writing it in this book, you were like, this is probably going to be one of my favorite parts of this whole journey?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many interesting parts about the MCA Bonspiel. It's hard to pick one or two stories out, but it's sort of fascinating in the early years of the Spiel how many games they used to play. You know, nowadays if you play 10, 11 games in the MCA Bonspiel, that's a lot, but you know, back then teams wasn't uncommon to play up to 30, 35 games, and one year actually in 1910, a team won 35 of 37 games they played. And they won 4 events, and their skip won the individual points contest, which was interesting too, that they had a sort of an individual event where you play different shots, like drawing through a port, guarding, freezing, kind of like you see in the forward hot shots at the Brier and Scotties. So in the early years, they had lots of little different events like that, which was interesting to read about. And you know, teams would come across the world to play in the MCA Bonspiel. A team came from Dawson City, Yukon, in 1908. It took them 3 weeks of travel to make it to Winnipeg, wow. And their sole purpose was to come just for the Bonspiel. And you know, Scottish curlers came for the first time in 1903, and you know, I talked to a team from New Zealand that came before their Olympics in 2006. They used the MCA as a tune-up for the Olympic Games, and curlers have come from Dallas and California and Switzerland. I've got a chance to talk to many of them, you know, throughout my research, and that's sort of been fascinating to learn all their experiences and what attracted them to come to the MCA Bonspiel.
I love that international appeal that the MCA Bonspiel has had. You mentioned a number of the countries that they came from. What was kind of some of those stories involved, and what drew them to the Bonspiel? Was it the size? Was it everything that goes along with it? What was kind of some of the international teams' reasons for coming?
Yeah, I think, you know, each team had a so unique reason. The team that came in 1903, that was the first time Scottish curlers had visited North America. They sort of been planning it for a long time, and it kindly came to fruition in 1903. They curled in probably about 20 cities in 3 months, and Winnipeg was one of their stops. And the captain of the team wrote an 800-page book about it afterwards and dedicated a whole chapter to the experience coming to Winnipeg, and called Winnipeg the Mecca of all curlers. Team came from California, and I think it was 1990. And during the MCA, that was their first games of the entire year, because you know they had very little curling in California, and the rink they normally play in was under renovations, and they had their state championship coming up in a couple weeks after the MCA. So coming to the Bonspiel was kind of a way to sharpen up, get some games in before their state championship. A world champion from Switzerland came numerous times, you know, mainly for the competition. Like I said, that team from New Zealand came in 2006, as did Pete Fenson from the United States, and both came to the Bonspiel as tune-ups for the Olympic Games. You know, curlers come from Dallas, Texas since 2004 to reunite with his old high school buddies. They won the Manitoba Schoolboys Bonspiel in 1964. Wow. And actually my dad was a skip of that team. And this fellow, Don Klett from Texas, has been coming in, you know, to reunite with his old high school buddies since 2004. And a big attraction, too, is just playing on good curling club ice. Because in Dallas, they play in a hockey arena.
There you go, right?
As the Zamboni driver prepares the ice. So it's got all sort of slants, and it falls back. And, you know, so that's a big motivation to come to Winnipeg, is to play on, you know, the good curling club ice here in the city.
Now, the interesting thing is the book that I'm holding on to right now actually just came out, actually a couple hours before the interview. So talk about where the book's launching and where people can pick it up, because I mean there's tons of great curling history within these pages.
Yeah, it's just hot off the presses right now, and books are being sent to McNally Robinson today, and the book launch will be tomorrow night, Wednesday, November 28th, 7 o'clock, McNally Robinson, Grant Park in the atrium. And they'll be sold, everywhere where books are sold, bookstores, and there'll be copies at Asham Curling Supplies, Atkins Curling Supplies, and you can also order online through the Winnipeg Free Press website. And there'll be a book signing December 8th. It's a Saturday from 2 to 4, also at McNally in Grant Park.
Fantastic. That's Sean Grassie. He's the author of Kings of the Rings, celebrating the MCA Bonspiel, which, as he said, in January 2013 celebrates its 125th year. For ShawTV, I'm Mitchell Clinton.